Hello, everybody. It's great to see you today. I am Martha Seelman. I am the Executive Director of Studio Art Quilt Associates, and we are often known by our acronym SAQA or SAQA. SAQA is one of 4 organizations that jointly put on textile talks every Wednesday. And along with Surface Design Association, the Quilt Alliance, and the International Quilt Museum. Before we get started with our program, I wanted to tell you that currently SAQA is running a sale of artwork that was in our traveling trunk shows. They are all about 10 by 8 inches, about the size of a piece of paper here in the United States. And they've been traveling for 3 years. They've gone all over as part of our outreach and educational programming. There are some wonderful pieces that are for sale. Many of them are very affordable, a real steal. And we invite you to go to our website, SAQA.com, and go to the trunk show sale. So SAQA.com/trunk show sale, all one word. Enjoy. Just even looking at them is a lot of fun, even if you're not ready to buy. Today's program comes to you from WOW, the World of Wearable Art event that takes place every year in New Zealand. So because it's in New Zealand, we can't do it live because it's the middle of the night there. So this has been pre-recorded by Sarah Nathan, who is the head of competition at WOW. And one of the things that I really enjoy, because I follow them on Instagram, is seeing how these creators take an idea and make it into, well, really 4 dimensions, because they're wearable art, but they're moving through space and time. And they have several competition categories that focus on using unusual materials. And so before we get started, I thought I'd take just a minute or so. Would you post in the chat well, I shouldn't say weirdest, but the most unusual thing that you have ever put in the art that you make? I was thinking about this, and I think for me, probably one of the most unusual things that I've ever used were some plastic beetles that went on an art quilt that involved a gigantic applique beetle, along with some CD-ROM discs, and it was called Beetles on CD, pun intended. So yeah, maps, milk protein, fish skins, magnets. We are creative people, and so we see potential art supplies everywhere. And that's what the designers for the World of Wearable Art do as well. And so you're going to see some really unusual materials in this presentation. So as I said, Sarah Nathan is the head of competition at WOW, and she's going to take us behind the scenes. You're going to learn about how the competition works. It's open to people throughout the world, so you might want to consider entering, especially if you're one of the people posting some of the more interesting things. Petrified snakes is definitely right up there. So this is where designers from all over the world push the boundaries with their extraordinary creations. You get to hear some of the stories behind the pieces that were in last year's competition in 2024, and also just the magic of the whole WOW stage show, which is just phenomenal. It's definitely on my bucket list, and I think after you watch this, it's going to be on your bucket list as well, to go to New Zealand and be able to participate in this in person. So without more ado, here is Sarah Nathan.
Righto. My name is Sarah Nathan and I am Head of Competition at the World of Wearable Art. It's my absolute pleasure today to welcome you to this presentation, and I'd like to spend the next 40 minutes taking you behind the curtain of World of Wearable Art, and for those of you who don't know what it is, give you a little bit of an insight and perhaps capture your imagination. So first of all, please excuse this little circle in the corner, which is going to be with you throughout this presentation. We needed to pre-record this for you all, and this seemed the best way to do it. As I say, my name is Sarah Nathan and I am Head of Competition, and I'm really grateful to Textile Talks for showing an interest in World of Wearable Art. And of course, Textile Talks is brought to us by Studio Art Quilt Associates, the International Quilt Museum, Surface Design Association, and the Quilt Alliance. So members of those organisations and people watching this video, I'm assuming, are going to have a significant interest in textiles and materials and crafting, and I think you will find people who enter the World of Wearable Art will, many of them will share similar interests with you. So I'm sure that you are going to find the following really, really interesting. I hope that you do. Please excuse my New Zealand / Australian accent. I will try to articulate as well as I possibly can, so that it's all clear and understandable for you. So, what is WOW? The World of Wearable Art. Despite having worked here for some time, I still find it hard to describe, and many people do, because quite often it depends on how you experience WOW. But the World of Wearable Art is an organisation based in New Zealand that has been around now for almost 4 decades and started with a very simple wearable art competition. There's wearable art competitions around the world, but WOW is definitely the most significant, the most prestigious, and we often refer to it as the Oscars of wearable art. As such, we have designers from usually each year around 40 countries around the world that enter the competition. Competition itself has over $200,000 of New Zealand dollars in prizes, as well as the opportunity to win a number of internships and placements, as well as lots of other benefits from entering. The competition itself then is results with wearable art finalists, and then this most spectacular show wraps around it, and that is presented in Wellington in September of every year, and it is the most phenomenal show. It includes incredible music, dancing, choreography, lighting effects, AV. It's a fully immersive experience, a little bit like Cirque du Soleil meets Lady Gaga meets the Met Gala, if that gives you some feeling. And I think as we go on with this presentation, you will get a sense of that. So, what is wearable art? Wearable art, well, defined by Dame Susie Moncrief, who is the founder of WOW, is really to take art off the wall and put it on the moving body. In effect, any concept, any idea, any materials that can be worn in a creative, sculptural, interesting, unorthodox way, it qualifies as wearable art. The only qualification really is that it's safe to wear. So models who have to wear these garments many times over the course of the show, they need to be able to see, they need to have a good balance, they need to be able to breathe. But as long as those things are in place, wearable art can be just about anything. And this next video will give you a bit of sense of how other designers define wearable art.
In 1987, I decided to take art off the wall, put it on the moving human body in the form of art being worn or wearable art.
Wearable art to me is art that you can move in and you can perform in. Something impressive visually, so it has to look incredible on the stage. 对于我来说，我觉得艺术不仅仅是它放在那里，或者是挂在墙上。我觉得艺术可以包括任何的形式。Wearable art is like a portal into other worlds. You get to come in and create things from your unique creativity that no one else has thought about before. Full creative freedom.
WOW creates a global platform for creativity and innovation, platform that's dynamic, inclusive and multidisciplinary, allowing endless and boundless artistic expression.
So let's talk about the competition itself. The competition runs annually, and every year there are 6 sections which are given as briefs to designers to which they can enter the competition. So anyone can enter WOW, anyone can win. And that is because when we get to judging, which I'll talk to you about in a little while, judging is completely blind. So judges don't know who the designer is, they don't know where they've come from, they don't know if they're an award winner or they're an 18-year-old student entering for the first time. So anyone can enter, anyone can win. We get entries from all around the world, and as I said, the closed judging ensures that it is a level playing field for anyone who enters. And again, as I said, take your craft, take your unique creativity and elevate it in a way that other competitions don't really give you that scope to do.
Blown away. The production value, the story that's told throughout, the showcasing the art, the performers, but also just being around other creative people. It's very inspiring. You have to do it. Even if you don't get in, what you're doing is bettering yourself. You're challenging yourself, having a goal to strive for.
You can go pretty low tech and still make some cool stuff. Just have a go. You know, if you like doing it, just do it. Like I'm just a simple guy that likes making cool stuff. And then you just slowly get it right, and then you get to where you are now, and then you got something amazing. And when you've got a group of people around you that just make amazing things, it just pumps you up to like, oh, I need to do it again.
It's really awesome to do a piece that got to be part of like a celebration. It can be intimidating to consider stepping into a space that's loaded with talent. I'm blown away by every single person in the show, and that can be overwhelming, especially if you haven't done it before. And so I guess my big piece of advice is you do have something worth saying and worth sharing and worth giving, and there's a space here for you with everyone, and you will be welcomed with open arms.
It was amazing, and meeting other designers also, it's a privilege. People should apply for WOW. It's a huge platform to put your thoughts out on a stage, and in whole world, in entire world, I think there is no other competition or there is no other show which can match this level. Amazing.
I can't stop pinching myself. I think that entering the competition is only a fraction of the benefits. I have been inspired beyond my wildest dream, meeting people, hearing about their stories. I think it pushes you so far out of your comfort zone that the rewards are huge.
Yeah.
Just seeing her, I was just like, yeah.
It was like goosebumps. We're so blessed to be able to do this together.
Choose something you're good at and just be creative with it. Yeah, and just enjoy the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very professional and amazing, enchanting. A big family, all ages, all different corners of the world. So it's very warm. It's very encouraging.
There's not really anything like it anywhere else in the world.
Most incredible way to see my work. I loved every second of it. Everyone has their thing, and I think it's so beautiful to see that on stage and see how these people have perfected their craft. The way that the models interact with each other and the way that the designers interact with each other. So it's like off stage and on stage, there's a great community. Think of the craziest idea your brain can think of and then go for it. It's such a wonderful way to see your work and completely worth it.
Yeah, just have a go.
Anyone can do it, so why not you?
Only the designers can say it best, right? But why they enter? They want to see their work on the WOW stage. There are awards and prizes. We have over $200,000 in New Zealand dollars worth of prizes and awards. We have internships and residencies. One of them is with the Weta workshop. Weta is the design studio that designed all of the creatures for all of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies, for example, amongst many others. To be part of an international design community, as you heard there, when you become a WOW fan and a WOW maker, to meet like-minded people is really, really special for people. It is a great way for developing a portfolio of work. This is particularly for new design students who are emerging. So if you know anyone who's in fashion design or art design, this is a great way, because what you end up with is tremendous photography, tremendous video on which to profile your work. And of course, therefore, that will give you exposure. But as I said earlier, the number one reason why designers enter is just the excuse to make. So each year, as I mentioned, there are section themes that are provided to inspire and provocate designers. Each year there are recurring sections. The first one is Aotearoa. Now Aotearoa is the Maori name for New Zealand. So sometimes I know that throws people who aren't familiar with that term. But there you go, you've learned something today. Aotearoa is what we call New Zealand. Avant-garde, where people are encouraged to push fashion to its extremes, and open. And I like to say, what is open? It's where the crazy goes. So with some of those most extreme, interesting, wild, creative ideas are featured in the open section. Then every year we have 3 special thematic themes, including things such as Elizabethan era architecture, monochromatic, myths and legends, reflective surfaces, red, creature carnival, Mars and beyond. And so you can see there that there's a huge range of sections and inspiration. And what you saw there were not the finalists. Obviously, those are garments from previous years that we put together to inspire designers and give them a sense of what we're looking for within that section. So the garments arrive on an online process, and what are judges looking for to be selected as a finalist? They're looking for originality and innovation. If it moves or does something differently to something they haven't seen before, that's wonderful. Really strong, clear concept. Sometimes concepts can get cluttered. You know that the saying less is more. So something that really cuts through and has a clear, strong sense of self. Quality construction is essential. You can have a fabulous idea, but if it's not well made, it's not going to go any further. I talked about health and safety before. It's really important that the models can see and are safe as they perform. And of course, then the final one is performance potential. If the garment has a way that it can move in a special way, it can be interpreted by its model or dancer, that's also a real benefit. So there's probably no better way to describe what judges are looking for than to talk about this year's Supreme winner. So the Supreme is the top award that you can get in World of Wearable Art, and in 2024 that was won by Grace Duval, who is from the United States, in her garment called Curves Ahead. So she won the Supreme. She also won the Avant-Garde section. So this garment, as you can see, was inspired by health and safety materials that you would find around a work site or road. It's physically made from vinyl signs, fencing, cones, and 3D printed PLA. Her inspiration was Grace lives in Boston. She has been entering WOW for 10 years, since she was quite young. She's won a few awards along the way, but this is the first time she's won the Supreme Award. 7 years ago, she came to New Zealand, and that was not long after we had a catastrophic earthquake and other natural disaster events. And she saw a huge amount of roadworks and safety gear as she travelled around cities and places, especially as she drove through a place called Kaikoura, which had had a recent earthquake. So for her, Curves Ahead was a love letter to New Zealand. She was telling me that she felt that the vibrancy of the fluoro orange that we have in our safety gear in New Zealand is so much more vivid and orange than it is in the USA. And she was so attracted by that colour. So it was a combination of thinking about those things, her attraction to the vibrancy and the message, but more than anything that the road twists and the path changes. The God of rebirth leads the way. So it's really a tribute to resilience, both in New Zealand, and that message obviously can be taken anywhere. So the next slide, as I click on, it's going to show you Curves Ahead in movement in the show. Just absolutely spectacular, and the judges described it as a real showstopper as well as a traffic stopper. So to get to selection, there are two phases. So the first part is all online, and the designers need to have made a garment through to completion. The garment must be photographed and videoed, and then the designer will upload their narrative explaining the story and their inspiration around the garment, and then a separate piece of information that talks about how it is constructed. And there might be some interesting information there, whether it's like 20,000 individually rolled pieces of paper, or it's made out of beeswax, or it's made out of recycled car parts. So that's information that is really, really good for the judges to read. So initially they are selected on that. The ones which we believe are good enough to come as finalists to New Zealand are invited to be sent. We have some sponsored shipping in the USA, and those shipping depots are out of Chicago and out of I think it's San Diego. It's very close to San Diego, if not San Diego. So the garments arrive in New Zealand by shipping freight usually. Then they're checked. Again, we keep talking about safety in construction because it's so important, and also for cultural appropriateness. They are then put on a model, and they are photographed and then confirmed as finalists of the WOW competition. So then judging takes place, and that takes place in two sections: a preliminary judging section where for the first time all of the guest judges see it on stage with their individual choreography. Each garment gets its own choreography, which is done. We have a world-leading choreographer working on a creative team, and they read the information given by the designer, and their job is to celebrate the garment in a way that the designer wants. The judges see it up close, and then they make their preliminary decisions. Then when 1 week before opening and the show itself has developed in full, they watch the garments again in context of a full show, so with all the lighting, special effects, scenic elements and music, and they make the final decision at that point, and they choose their supreme garment. One of the most wonderful things about being a finalist in WOW is that the designers get to come to Awards Week, and we host them over several wonderful events, and designers say it's an absolute incentive for entering, and it's a highlight of their year. We put together a Designers Day program. They come and see the show, and then of course there's a party afterwards.
Let go of your questions. Let go, they're clouding your view. The time is going nowhere fast, and it's got hold of you. Let go of your limits. Let go, it's holding you back. The hour hand is spinning round, and fiction becomes fact. It's a fact.
So let's talk briefly about the show itself. The show is, as I said, a huge, large-scale theatrical experience. You know, people from New Zealand and all around the world always leave saying, I've never seen anything like it. And it really is one of those things you've kind of just got to experience for yourself. Our finalist garments are brought to life on stage in their worlds. Each garment is individually choreographed, as I mentioned before, based on the designer's vision. And we work on the show concept for close to 2 years before we actually deliver a show each year. I'm recording this in December of 2024, and I'm already working on the 2026 show. So year-round, the WOW company has just around 20 full-time employees, but around showtime, we explode out into over 400 people who work on the show. And many of those are contractors that come back year after year after year. Over 3,000 people, close to 3,500, watch the show every night in the arena, and we do that across 3 nights. Now this says 2019, I should have updated that to 2024. There was an audience of over 60,000 people. Now in 2024 we exceeded that for the first time, and which is quite an extraordinary feat, because probably quite similar to where you are at the moment. New Zealand is in a slumped economy. People have not a lot of disposable cash to spend on luxuries, but WOW provides such a moment of joy and awe that it's something people save up to, and it's really something that you put in your diary and you come every year, if not every second year. So it was really quite special that we had our largest audience ever in 2024 when the economic times are quite difficult. Now, one of the key things in the show, along with the garments that come from the competition, is there are costumes. Now, costumes are different to garments. Garments are the competition. Costumes are worn by other cast members in the show and are really important to lifting the experience of the show. So I'm going to show you a quick video now that talks about those costumes.
This year we're making around 180 costumes and using over 500 metres of fabric. The costumes are different to the garments. The costumes are designed by Gabrielle Stevenson and are worn by the performers in the show, while the garments are entered into the WOW competition and are worn by the models. We have a team of about 40 people who spend around 6,000 hours working on the costumes here in TSB before we move to Shed 6 for our show run. We have also collaborated with local ethical manufacturer NISA for the past 3 years to complete the huge volume of costumes. NISA is based in Wellington and was founded in 2017 to help provide refugee and migrant workers with paid employment. This year they've helped with the red costumes, which you'll be seeing in the natural world section, and the graphic costumes, which you'll be seeing in geometric.
let's talk about some of the designers and the art, and I'll take you through a variety of examples that I think that may be of particular interest to those of you who are involved in the quilting community, given some of the materials that have been used. This first garment is Wild Things. It was entered in the 2022 competition. And it's made by a designer named Saar Snoek from the Netherlands, and she is an expert in felting hand-dyed wool. She works with silk and foam to create her structures. And this is a Fisherian runaway model. It's a beautiful piece that was very, very popular with the judges and the crowd. This next piece, named Pieces of Us, is named because it's made out of jigsaw pieces by Vicky Robertson and Glenys Hale, both from New Zealand, and they were in the avant-garde section in 2024. They made 15 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles between them, which were then applied with paint, resin, and 7 different other treatments, and they eventually formed into the shape that you see. And it was a friendship that began with a mutual love of Scrabble. This garment is one of my personal favourites, and it's called Blooming Proof by Erna van der Wand, and she made this with her mother and her mother-in-law, who were both well into their 80s and were living in South Africa. Erna lived in Auckland, and they decided between them to make this creature made of crocheted wool. Her mother and mother-in-law would crochet the pieces, they would send them across the world, and then Erna constructed them into the alien that you see before us. It won the People's Choice Award, the most popular, voted by the audience in 2023. Mainly made out of wool crochet with some pool noodles that give it some of its form. And their statement was, "There's life on Mars and beyond, but the alien has been yarn bombed." This next piece is Changing Perceptions, and this is from 2024 by Rebecca Bond in New Zealand. It's an incredibly popular piece, very structural, and you're going to see in the next piece that it has a kinetic spinning motion. Importantly, that is the first time that we had a model who was in a wheelchair, and it was choreographed by a wheelchair choreographer. It won the Transformation Innovation Award. It's made from PVC and wood. Next one is Ethereal Shift. I chose this one to share with you. Is Orzap from Turkey. She won the International Design Award, but why I thought this would be of interest is because she made this in a traditional quilting technique that was been handed on generation through generation in Turkey, which is where she's from. It represents an ethereal being in a cocoon dress embodying hope, unity, and transformative change. This one, Margie's dress, is extraordinary from 2024. It is made out of gutter guard. Now, I don't know if that's what you call it where you're from, but it's the stuff that you put in your gutters to stop from leaves clogging up the downpipes. So made from gutter guard, and then she had embroidered it with garden tie. When you look up close, the craftsmanship is extraordinary. This is a first-time entrant, again showing that anyone can enter and anyone can win. Kia Marama by the New Zealand designers Lauren Kidd and Francis Kidd is a tribute to their father. This was a tribute to his glass making. He made stained glass panels, was very popular craftsman in his time. He sadly passed away, and it's their tribute to him. Whilst this looks very much like stained glass, they made this from silk, paint and silk. And the final one, Wellington, the skin I'm in, I thought you would enjoy. Catherine Bertram, she's also a New Zealand designer. This was in 2023, but she made a tutu herself, but then she hand embroidered the buildings of Wellington onto the tutu and onto the tulle. Up close, it's a phenomenal piece. It's a fantastic exhibition piece. Triptych Fashionistas by Jill Perry. Couldn't resist showing you this one. Sorry, I thought the last was the last. But these beautiful three sisters, the simple concept, it is made out of dog bowls. So, have we inspired you? The 2025 competition is open now. You probably don't have time to get an entry done because American entries do close mid-February. But please keep an eye on our website because we're going to be opening the 2026 section very, very soon. So, But what I do encourage you to do is to register as a designer. So step one is to go onto our website, worldofwearableart.com, and register as a designer. And then you immediately can join our Facebook group, which is specifically for registered designers of World of Wearable Art. And you'll see a lot of conversation and a lot of learning happening in that exclusive Facebook group. So this one last video to inspire you is what happens when you win at World of Wearable Art. Entries are open for 2025 now. We would love to see you register a designer if you're interested. You can always reach out to us and we're always happy to help. Thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure to present to you. I hope I didn't go too fast. I hope I didn't repeat myself too much. I wish you all a wonderful 2025 and hopefully we will see you at World of Wearable Art in New Zealand one day soon.
Houston, we have a problem.
Wow. I mean, that says it all, right? I think my favorite was probably the piece made with gutter guard embroidered with twist ties. But I really love those dog bowls. So creative, so fun. I'm hoping someday that I can get to go to New Zealand and see it in Wellington. It really is fantastic. Do go to their website, worldofwearableart.com. They do have some short videos that you can watch there. This whole presentation will be up on the Textile Talks YouTube channel very shortly. And so you can watch it and share it with your friends. Let them know about Textile Talks. If they're not watching every Wednesday, they're really missing out. Next week, the topic is we're going to completely change the vibe. It will be African American Quilt Guilds Uncovering Lost History with quilt documentation. It will be presented by the Quilt Alliance, whose mission is to document quilts that you're making. And in the meantime, do check out SAQA.com for that trunk show sale. There's some wonderful art there. And thank you so much for joining me today. This was just really amazing, and I'm glad you got a chance to see it. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.